Hi, it's Kobe Bryant.
This is Byron Scott.
This is Alex Ogletree.
This is Ed White of the San Diego Chargers and the Minnesota Vikings.
Hey, this is Farrell Cooper. You're listening to the home of the Rams in the Inland Empire, AM 590, The Answer.
Welcome to another edition of the Sports Corner. I'm your host, Gabe Real. You can follow me on Twitter at Gabe Real Sports. I had some fun. Some of you may follow me on social media. You know that I do some side work for West Coast Multimedia. Shout out to my dude Tony. We do some awesome stuff with the local places. And you know what? I'm going to do another quick shout out to Mark Neiman, who has an awesome Sandlot block of events coming up. And yes, you heard the word Sandlot, because that means that 6 of the 9 actors from the classic movie The Sandlot will be coming to Ontario in the coming weeks. We're going to start off on the 15th of September with it's Smalls and Repeat. And then the following, I think it's like the October 15th. I can't get the dates correctly. I'm going to look him up right now. But he's going to also have Squints and De Nunez. And that's coming up on the 29th of September, actually. So the 15th of September is one. Then the 29th. And then October 13th, he's going to wrap it up with Timmy and Yaya. So 6 of the 9 player or actors from the movie The Sandlot are going to be coming by, and these are some of the events that I've been so fortunate to cover with West Coast Multimedia. And one of them was the Fred Claire second annual golf tournament benefiting the City of Hope. And I went out there with the camera, just like I always do. Shout out to Dodgers Nation. Went out there to do some video for their stuff, and keep an eye on that. Like I said, on my social media, Dodgers Nation, official Dodgers Nation, you'll be able to see some of the footage that we caught. But as I'm wandering around like I normally do, I came across this gentleman who approached us with a book entitled "The 1988 Dodgers: Reliving the Championship Season." And I look at the cover and I'm like, wait, some of these dudes I'm actually seeing wandering around here at the Oakmont Country Club. So I have to talk to you. And the gentleman, I'm thinking, who is this guy? Well, he's none other than KP Wee, who was a media relations assistant for the Vancouver Canadians Baseball Club. He also hosted a radio show on the Burnaby, British Columbia, Canada. The man has done it all. This is not his first book either. He wrote I can't even pronounce his name. Is it Coyote? A Life of Knuckleballs, The End of the Montreal Jinx, Boston's Short-Lived Glory. Of course, the book I just talked about, 1988 Dodgers. I mean, the resume is very impressive, and the man is very nice, who actually was able to talk to me. We chopped it up a little bit there, but I was like, wait. I don't have a microphone. I don't have a digital recorder here. I need to record some of this. So, without further ado, KP Wee is joining me right now via the Lumberlend company my phone line, and I'm butchering that because this is a new relationship. You can see that on the video. Lumberlend is the guys that put up the bat mug. Awesome mug. I'm gonna have him come back on the show so we can talk more about this awesome. It's basically you're drinking out of a bat. I mean, how cool is that? So joining me off the Lumberlend hotline, I got KP Wee. Thank you, my man, for joining me today on Sports Corner.
Hi, Gabe. Thanks for having me on.
So before we get into your awesome book, what were you doing in California? Because you're in Vancouver, you're in Canada, man. So how'd you come across the West Coast?
Well, that's right, Gabe. I'm from Vancouver, Canada, and was fortunate enough to have Fred Claire, whom you referenced earlier, sending me an invitation to go down to LA to be a guest at the Fred Claire Celebrity Golf Classic benefiting City of Hope, and I was there as a guest. And, since I had just written a book on the 1988 Dodgers, I figured I might as well, bring a few copies of the book down there just to see if I could, maybe show some of those players on that team this book that I've just written about them.
It's an awesome book. I just met you last week, so I really haven't been able to fully dive into it, but I've come across some awesome stories that I didn't even know about it. But then again, I mean, at 1988, I was 3. When the Dodgers won it, I was 4. Just to put it in perspective and a lot of the kids nowadays, they have no idea what's going on. I mean, we were supposed to be champions last year. Unfortunately, we came close, but we fell short in Game 7. So you're wandering around. You talk to Fred Claire. Fred Claire, as you pointed out in your book, he's the main reason why the 1988 Dodgers book came to life. So tell me how that conversation came about, because, yeah, I mean, he was absolutely correct. We're in the 30th anniversary of the last time that the Dodgers, of that championship, the 1988 championship run. So tell me a little bit of that conversation, how Fred Claire was able to basically twist your arm enough for you to write this book.
Well, Gabe, we'll just have to go back a little bit to the first book that you talked about, Tom Candiotti, A Life of Knuckleballs.
Mm-hmm.
When I was writing that book on the formal knuckleball pitcher Candiotti, I had to talk to a bunch of his former coaches or managers, general managers, former teammates, and I was fortunate enough to talk to Fred Claire. Of course, he was the one who signed Candiotti to the Dodgers in '92, and Candiotti pitched there in Los Angeles for 6 seasons. And I guess I made a good enough impression on Mr. Claire that he'd been keeping in touch with me via email over the years, and it just so happened in December 2016, Mr. Claire sent out an email to me, asking me what books, what projects I was working on, and at that point, I wasn't really writing anything new, but he kind of put the idea in my mind, hey, the 88 Dodgers, 30th anniversary is coming up in 2018. It's 2016 right now, December, and we're, a month away from 2017. If you were interested enough to kind of, take on this, we could possibly, get you talking to some of those players, some of those coaches who were part of that amazing 88 team. And I kind of thought about it for a little bit. I thought, yeah, you're right. You're right, Fred, because, 88, 2018, that's 30 years. Mm-hmm. Maybe fans from that era, or even new fans of the Dodgers who haven't seen a championship since that might be interested in reading, in picking up this book and reading about, those heroes from 88.
Were you a Dodger fan?
When Candiotti was a Dodger, yes, I rooted for the Dodgers and hoped that they would win the World Series. I mean, over the years, though, I would have to say, being a journalist or being a writer, I kind of tend not to have any bias, but I do support the Dodgers here and there.
That's one of the things that, because it struck me, because you have to do a lot of research, and you have to. I mean, and I get it. When you're a journalist, it's with a job. You go to the team, you talk to the players, you dive, you dig till you come up with the impressive product, which is in your case the awesome book, the 1988 Dodgers, and I was just curious because this is a historic team. You went back to you broke it down from 1979 to 1986. Not a single team that won the ring was a repeat. It was always a different team that won the championship. You broke it down. Correct. how for the 2 seasons before 1988, how the Dodgers finished with the same record. I think it was like 79 and whatever. But so how fun was this project for you, or was it exhausting?
Actually, because I do love baseball. I do enjoy reading up on the history of the sport. It was actually quite fun because you have a chance to talk to the players who lived it. You have a chance to talk to the coaches, the scouts who, went through this, and to hear their interesting stories that they still remember, 29, 30 years later. Right. It's amazing. Talking to a guy like Joey Amalfitano, a longtime coach with the Dodgers, and to hear him talk about all those memories, it was awesome. Having a chance to talk to a guy like that. Talking to, even a third-string catcher who maybe didn't get into as many games, but was able to nonetheless have a lot of memories from that season. Talk to the closer on that team, Jay Howell, a lot of good memories. So it was a fun project for me, just learning a lot of the things that I actually did not know about the 88 Dodgers. Yeah,
because, you talked to so many players, which we're going to get into in just a few moments. But right now, joining me on the phone, I got the author, KP Wee, author of the 1988 Dodgers, Reliving the Championship Season. This book is already available on Amazon.com. Very easy search. Just type in 1988 Dodgers, KP Wee. Give him a follow. Also, follow him on Instagram, KP KPWee, WEE1, KPWee1 on Instagram and Twitter as well. There's a funny story that I came across like I said, I feel like I'm not gonna say I know everything about Dodgers because I don't. I love the team. I love the Dodgers. I love the traditions and the history behind the ball club. But there's a funny story that you put in there about Kirk Gibson and getting, I think you called it black, like the black paint on his hat. Tell me a little.
Right.
First of all, who told you that story? Was this a story that you already knew, or was this a story that you came across while you were doing your investigation and talking to the players?
Well, actually, this is a story that I had heard about before, I had read about before, but I just wanted to get various players.
You wanted a confirmation.
Well, I just wanted to know if that was truly a significant event that happened in spring training. Did it really motivate the team? Did it really pull the team together? Or was it just something that the media made a big deal out of? And it was interesting for me to hear some of the responses from the players who were part of that spring training. I remember one particular player said that perhaps it wasn't as big a deal as it might have been. It might have been overblown. Other players said perhaps that it kind of turned the season around for them, even though it was just spring training. So it's kind of interesting to hear the different perspectives of different players. Yeah. So that was interesting to definitely to talk about for sure on for my part.
What was something that you learned brand new that you were just talking to these players and you're like, wait, hold on. Run that by me one more time.
Well, the one that I can't off the top of my head is depending on what sport you talk about. In hockey, hockey fans remember Mark Messier guaranteeing a win with the New York Rangers against the New Jersey Devils in the playoffs one year, or you had Joe Namath guaranteeing a Super Bowl victory in football. And the one thing that I found out that I had never heard before was a player guaranteeing, to Fred Claire, the general manager, that they were going to win the World Series that year, and he was going to catch the final out. So that to me was amazing because that conversation happened prior to the season, and as it turned out, at the end of I guess 7 months later on down the road, that promise or that guarantee came true. Even though you don't hear about it anymore, you hear about Joe Namath, you hear about Mark Messier, Patrick Waugh, just to name a few. But that one was something that I heard that I couldn't believe, but I kind of had to take a few moments to digest and say, "Oh, can you run that by me again?" The kind of thing. Yeah, so that for me was kind of interesting.
So hold on. So who was it? Who was this player? Because
okay, that was backup catcher Rick Dempsey, or he was a platoon catcher at, that season. So Dempsey was the one who caught the final out because that was a strikeout by Oral Hershiser to end Game 5 of the World Series down in Oakland.
So he said, "We're gonna win the ring. Furthermore, I'm catching the last out."
He said that. He said that in Fred Claire's office. If needed. That blew me away because, if you've seen the footage, it was Hershiser striking out Tony Phillips, I believe, to end the 5th game, and that clinched the series. And all the players jumped, came out to celebrate together as a team. And who caught the final out? That was, of course, Rick Dempsey, and I believe he promised to give that ball to Fred Claire, and he did. And that ball right now is in the Hall of Fame, if I understand correctly, because Mr. Claire donated it to the Hall, because Hall of Fame does not have a lot of World Series clinching out baseballs. So
wow!
That was something neat that Mr. Claire did.
If we lived in the era of social media, this story would have caught a lot of legs, a lot of wind. We always know Joe Namath was very flashy, the fur coat, New York media. So of course, plus it's football. And when he said it, I'm pretty sure he said it and with media listening. This conversation that was done here with the Dodgers was done in the privacy of the office of Fred Claire, which is kind of a reason why it didn't catch a lot of wind. But if it was in today's world, I can definitely see him at the end catching that last out and taking off his uniform with the T-shirt that says #I called it. You know what I mean? Something like that. Hey.
Yeah, and Mr. Clare would be able to back him up that he did utter those words. He did make that promise, and it happened. So good for him.
That's hilarious. Since we're talking about baseballs, I heard and I haven't gotten into it. You may have it in the book, but you've talked to so many people. I'm pretty sure somebody told you this, or you may know this answer yourself. What happened to Kirk Gibson's home run ball? Because I keep hearing that it's gone. That it's gone MIA. Nobody knows where it's at.
Yeah, from what I've read, and these are published stories online from the various journalists, reporters. From what I understand, that ball is gone. It's missing. Somebody claimed that it hit them, I guess, on the butt or somewhere in the body, and somebody sent a photo of that I guess the part of the body where the ball hit her or struck her, and sent that photo to Gibson. But as far as the whereabouts of that baseball, nobody knows. As far as I understand, but it supposedly hit somebody, a fan, of course, and that fan had a picture to prove it.
Such a historic ball for nobody to know where it's at. And I guess 30 years ago we had people cared about memorabilia, but they didn't care about it as much as they do now. Like nowadays, the usher immediately comes in like, "Hey, where's that ball?" Like if it's something historic, the player wants it, or the team wants to talk to you about that ball or something. And I don't think any of that existed back in the 80s.
Well, I'm guessing it was a different time. I'm thinking that at the time maybe baseball cards or sports cards were probably more the thing to collect, I guess. As far as players and memorabilia, I'm assuming again maybe they might. If it's like a final out, or if it's say a no-hitter, final out of like a perfect game or something like that, the final out of, let's say, a milestone victory, I'm sure that the pitcher might have, that actual baseball. But if it's a home run that was hit out of the ballpark, maybe the fan that got it just I'm assuming would have taken it home and kept it somewhere. I don't know. It's interesting to think about that way, because that baseball, whoever has it right now, that's worth a lot of money. It's
absolutely. I mean, why wouldn't you want to come forward? Now, if you don't want to get rid of it, and if you don't want to sell it, then I get it. Keep it on the hush. It's already 30 years. Nobody's gonna hound you for it. There's nobody knows you have it. Then keep it on the hush. But if you want to make some extra chuckles on it or money on it, why not? Why not come forward? You'll definitely be known in history as a person that has that ball. But it's going to be hard to prove it too, though. Unless you have pictures or some way. Like, it's going to be kind of hard to prove that you have that ball. Joining me on the phone right now is KP Weig, the author of the 1988 Dodgers. Make sure you pick up the book on Amazon.com. Give my man a follow. KP Weig with 2 E's. That's KPWEE1 on Instagram and Twitter. We saw Tommy Lasorda at the golf tournament. Tell me a little bit of how was it? I'm sure you interviewed him, right? You interviewed him for the book. Talk to him a little bit about the 1988 squad.
Actually didn't get a chance to interview him for this particular book.
Okay.
I had enough. I guess I had enough material or enough quotes about him from other players, other sources, and I didn't. Just didn't work out that way because of the timing situation.
Of course.
Because I wanted to have the book published, be ready to be published by
certain date.
This time, by 2018. So
got it.
I didn't have a chance to talk to everybody. It was just a timing thing.
Of course.
So let's say if I had started this in 2015, or maybe had a couple of years to kind of work on it,
right,
I would have, possibly had a chance to speak with more the players and also Tommy himself. But it was fun seeing him. He looked great, and
he did.
that night down at the Oakmont Country Club, he received an award and he gave a speech. It was very inspiring. Everyone, was very inspired. I would say to hear him talk about his experience and also what the award meant to him going up on stage to receive it.
You got to give me a great Tommy Lasorda story, though. I mean, even though you didn't talk to him directly, I'm sure the players got one. I mean, maybe one is an understatement, maybe like 10, but you got to give me at least one or two of something good of what they shared about Tommy.
Well, I mean, going back to Kirk Gibson, he was kind of an intense kind of player. He didn't want any jokes in the clubhouse. He was all business. He wanted to go out there and win the game. Whereas Tommy Lasorda was more like kind of like a prankster. I understand that, one time when Mickey Hatcher, who was one of the heroes on the '88 Dodger team, when Hatcher was with the Twins a couple of seasons prior to that, one of the things was that Tommy Lasorda had somebody cut up Hatcher's pants and had those pants being raised up the flagpole during the spring training game. Of course, at the time, there was no interleague play, so the Twins and Dodgers wouldn't have met in the regular season, but it happened during a spring training game, so lots of laughs for sure. So that was kind of a practical joke. And, when you listen to, the former players who played under Tommy, they'll tell you all these kind of funny stories about him. And there's one story that I know about that didn't make it into the book because it didn't happen in 1988, but it was in 92 when a pitcher by the name of Kevin Groves, issued a challenge to Tommy to, say, hey, I bet you that you can't eat this gigantic watermelon within 2 days. And, of course, Tommy decided to go ahead and accept the challenge, and he was able to finish the entire watermelon all by himself like an hour before the deadline. So Tommy won that challenge. That was, just a lot of funny stories that you read about Tommy, that you hear about Tommy. Obviously, a great manager and guiding the Dodgers to a couple of world championships in the '80s.
You said Kevin Gross was the one that challenged him?
Yeah, that's right. Kevin Gross, who wasn't on the '88 team, but he pitched for the Dodgers.
No, yeah, he's a friend of the station, friend of West Coast Multimedia. Oh. So,
right.
I next time I see him, I'm gonna definitely bring up the watermelon story. Hey, you gotta give me more on this story. Joining me right now on the phone, I got KP Wee, author of the 1988 Dodgers, Reliving the Championship Season. In a year's time is what you basically took to put this book together. Basically, it was 1 year, and maybe a little, give or take a little bit more. Is there anything you regret? I mean, in such a short time for you to be able to put this amazing book, kudos to you, man. But was there anything that you wish you could have put that didn't make the book?
Yeah, I wish I could have had some of the Oakland players, some of the Mets players, and even some of the former Dodgers who ended up getting traded prior to '88, being part of the book. I did talk to Jerry Royce, a funny guy and a nice guy. He pitched for the Dodgers until '87, and then he was released. And I believe that was Fred Clare's first transaction when he took over as general manager in '87. So I did have a chance to communicate with Jerry Royce, get his thoughts about the '88 team because he was on the '81 team that won it. So just want to get his thoughts. But I also would have liked to have heard from some of the Oakland players on what this shocker of an upset meant. Talk to some of the Mets if I could, but just wasn't. Again, the timing was the issue here. I actually started this in April of 2017, so that didn't give me a lot of time because I wanted to have this out by this year, 2018. And the biggest regrets would have been not being able to talk to some of the players who weren't on the '88 team but played against them or were on previous teams.
No, of course, but I mean, you're already talking to say like it's 25 people on the team, plus managers, plus Fred Claire, plus, I mean, you already had, and you're in Canada. You're not even here in California. You're in Canada. So very impressive for you to be able to accomplish what you accomplished to get this book together. One last question for you. What story are you looking forward to the reader reading? Like, there's got to be one story that you're like, this story made me laugh for days, or this story left an impression in me for days, that this is the one story that if you can take something away, this is what I want the readers to come out of when they read this book.
Right. In terms of laughter, I guess one of the Tommy Lasorda stories would do that. But because there were a few of them in the book, I dedicated a chapter to Tommy. But the one story that sticks out is a story told to me by Jay Howell, and that when he was comparing, the '93 Braves team that won 104 games, he was actually on that team, to the '88 team, and talked about the similarities. It was all about hard work, gamers, guys that were willing to sacrifice to get the job done to win the ball game. So a couple of the stories that Jay Howell shared were awesome. Another story I thought of was Tim Leary, a pitcher who had his best season in '88, and the work that he did to have a successful season, to actually lead the Dodgers in strikeouts that year, and just to hear about Leary, what he had to do to have a strong '88 season. And he was actually one of the heroes in Game 1 of the World Series against Oakland, which we already forgot, because he actually pitched 3 shutout innings in that Game 1 to keep the Dodgers close in the 9th inning. So it's a 1-run deficit. So the stories told by Leary, told by Howell, the stories about Lasorda, I think those are one of those would be what I would hope the reader would take away and say, oh, that was funny, or that was inspirational, that was something that was awesome about '88. So I know I cheated, and not just one thing, but a couple of things there.
You're making us want to get this book. Actually, I lied. I thought I had one more question, but I actually came up with another one as I was just listening to you. Were you able to talk to the Vince Scully at all, or anything about the 1988 team?
I believe with Vince Scully, I think it's hard to get a chance to talk to him during the season. So basically, when I was writing this book, it was during the baseball season. So
and was it his final season too?
Yeah, right.
Because I think so. I think if it was last year, he was already retired. He was already out. But 2 years ago, it was during his farewell tour.
Right. Again, it was just a timing that I just didn't get. There were lots and lots of people that I would have wanted to talk to, actually, but it's just a matter of how tight the deadline that I imposed on myself, Gabe, to be honest, I guess, was the thing that kind of stopped me from being able to talk to,
a lot of players.
Everybody that was a part of that awesome ball club. But I am proud of what. I guess of the effort I put into the book, Gabe.
Absolutely.
As you mentioned, me being from Canada, and having to make everything work. I think it's the book that I enjoyed writing, and I hope that's a book that the fans will enjoy reading as well.
Definitely. We're in Southern California. We love everything Dodgers. This is definitely a book that we need to add to our libraries. Once again, the book is 1988 Dodgers, and the author, KP Wee. Give him a follow at KPWEE1 on Instagram and Twitter. And Amazon. Just go to Amazon.com and type in 1988 Dodgers Reliving the Championship Season, or wherever books are sold, Barnes & Noble. It's kind of hard. People don't buy books at bookstores anymore. People buy them online. So come on, guys. Just go online and type it in and give him a follow. Let him know, hey, just listen to this interview with you on AM 590, and your book is amazing, which you're gonna see for yourself. And we look forward to the paperback, because you know what? Now that the book is out, KP, the book is out. You don't have pressure. You can talk to people from the Mets or the Oakland A's, and then put out a paperback of your book with like an additional chapter or two of like lost stories that didn't make the first edition. I just gave you an idea.
That would be an
Boom.
awesome thing to do, and that's a great idea.
Paperback, just do it. But I definitely want to talk to you again. It looks like the Dodgers are going to make the playoffs. Let's be honest. We're going to make the playoffs. We're playing great baseball right now, and it'll be nice because we're going to win the ring this year. And if we win, we're going to win it on the 30th year anniversary. How cool would that be? You're going to write another book on the 2018 Dodgers, Reliving the Championship. That's going to be your next book, just so you know.
All right, good stuff, Gabe.
Thank you for joining me today on the Sports Corner, and till next time, enjoy the games.